Connor. Welcome to Chatting with Chat. Today I'm joined by Connor Wilson, co-founder of Thursday Boot Company. Over the past decade, it probably looks and feels longer just based on his appearance, but over the past decade, he's grown Thursday from a business school idea into a thriving brand known for high quality boots and shoes at honest prices. Before becoming a founder, Connor spent 6 years at Thornburg Investment Management as an equity analyst and associate portfolio manager. And most importantly, he's a good friend of mine, or at least that's what this document is telling me to say. No, all bad jokes aside, Connor's super excited to have you on and joining us today.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, chat, and
Yeah.
very excited to be chatting.
Chatting with Chat, that's what this is all
It's good
about.
branding. It's good branding. I don't know why you're even asking me any questions today.
So let's jump right in. Obviously, you celebrated 10 years in business last year. What were some of the pivotal moments that helped Thursday scale, and what did you learn from them?
I mean, it's really difficult to fully distill 10 years of experience, the victories and the defeats, the cul-de-sacs and the detours into a short version. But I do think there are a few key decisions I can at least point to say that these were critical moments that we made the right decision and we wouldn't be here without it. I think our first one was really picking like the right market in which to participate in the first place. When we
Yeah,
first got started, my co-founder Nolan Walsh and I, we were both business school students at Columbia and frankly didn't know anything about anything. But we were really excited about this idea of we could build a higher quality boot at a better price using a new differentiated distribution method, which was this thing called the internet. It was brand new at the time. And so we thought that
crazy.
was really, really compelling because it gave an opportunity for two guys with not a lot of capital, but a ton of energy and a lot of passion and a lot of ambition. It gave us an opportunity to kind of get our foot in the door and really compete effectively against these big giant legacy brands that weren't really doing a lot of innovation. And when you're doing that, the key decision we made first was when we decided what we were going to do, we picked a category of boots that was authentic to who we were, something we were really excited about. We got really nerdy on the details. We knew it was something that we were not just passionate about the day of the founding, but also that we had high confidence was going to get more exciting in the future. The second part was that when we did that, we were also selecting our competition. You know, as a new entrant, you get to decide where you want to play. And for
Yeah,
us, there's a lot of places in the market where there's a lot of efficiency or there's a lot of really formidable competitors. And one thing I love about a lot of the traditional heritage boot companies, as much as I may respect some portions of the branding of the product, I loved it that all of our competitors were talking about how they've been doing the same thing for a century. And we couldn't replicate that 100-year-old history out of nothing. But the idea that we could actually choose someone who was very proud of the fact that they don't change, we thought that gave us a lot of potential angles to really attack, and that ended up being true. And the second big decision, of which this has been a decision we've had to make again and again and again, we've been doing this for a decade. We still haven't raised our prices, and that's in the face of some very real inflation concerns. And I get the question all the time of like, how are you able to do that? The one thing we never did was we never decided to cheap out on product quality. So from
yeah,
day one, it was always like we knew that our product was going to be the foundation of the business and the brand. You have to do great customer service. You have to be able to do a lot of other things well, from ranging from logistics to your accounting software to things that the customer doesn't feel in touch, but definitely do have an ultimate impact on the value you provide. But we really thought from day one that one of our biggest marketing expenses had to be actually the cost of the product. The cost of goods is actually kind of a marketing expense, which is very anathema to how a lot of footwear or apparel companies think. They think of gross margin and then they think of marketing and other things. We've
yeah.
figured that if we can get our customers to really love the product and really buy into what we're trying to do, one, they're going to trust us enough to buy from again and tell their friends, word of mouth. That was going to be critical. Two, we build that trust and allow us to successfully expand in the future. And that is a big part of our success is that if we were just Thursday Boot Company, could be a very successful boot company, and we intend to be, and we still have a lot of room to grow. But it's also allowed us to go into other items that are concentric circles around boots, like sneakers and dress shoes, and from men's boots to women's boots, and leather jackets and denim jackets and men's apparel. And I love the idea that those little decisions made quickly of who do you compete against and prioritizing product quality above all else has been really the kind of secret sauce that's allowed us to unlock a lot of future growth and brand health.
I mean, you hit the nail on the head. I think one of the things that I've always been impressed with by you from the moment I met you is that focus on quality. And I guess, how did you, from day one, and obviously I know a little about this, but for everyone listening in, for the five people listening in to us today, how did you approach sourcing and manufacturing differently to achieve maintaining not just the quality, but the pricing, which I think is remarkable, right? Like,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, this is something that's really interesting because I think it requires a bit. You have to kind of think about second and third order effects, which isn't something that we as
yeah,
humans are very well trained to do. On the one hand, we're just grinding like regular entrepreneurs do, but on the other hand, you have to kind of think about this strategically as well. We made the bet. We realized that you have a few ways to respond if you have inflation or increasing prices. The only way that you can continue to do that and operate profitably, sustainably for the long run, otherwise which you get no opportunity to offer your product to
right,
anyone, you have to have basically sustainable profitability. Okay, that's the way
yeah,
to do it. Super hard one. Not many brands are even able to achieve it, not at scale. And we've lived through a decade where a lot of these venture capital funded models really struggled because they had too much capital, never learned to become profitable, and we've sort of seen the consequences of that. But for us, we realized that there are things that go into the product that the customer does see and does value, and there are things that do not go into the product that still raise costs. And a good example there is if we were to go and take like the quality of the product and buy worse leather, or I don't know, try and do some weird thing that cheapens the product in some way, shape, or form. One, like your customer is going to know it, feel it, taste it, and they're not
right,
going to that kills your brand. So it's just off the table. One, what most
yeah,
people do, and not everyone makes that decision, but those that do make that decision then say, well, then my only option in that case is to raise prices. And we said, well, that's always an option, and maybe that'll be something. Eventually, it will be something we have to do. I can guarantee you over a long enough time frame, yes, that'll happen. But we said, but if we didn't do that, is there a secret option B or C that maybe other people are not thinking about? And we realized actually, yes, there is. So there's two things that are really important. Number one is there are certain efficiencies that you can gain through scale where your actual material cost isn't changing. And our material costs have actually gone up, not just because of inflation, but because we've also invested further in the product. When
right,
we launch a new model, we love it, we think it's awesome, but your customers will tell you, hey, what if you tweak this or you tweak that? And so some people ignore that. We listen to it, and then because we make in small batches, we go and we iterate. We do a version 2.0, 2.3, 2.7, et cetera, until eventually you get to like the ideal perfect boot. So one is we've actually increased our material costs over time. And the only way you can offset that then is by more efficiency. And so by operating at higher volume and higher scale, you can spread some of those fixed operating costs over a greater volume of products. And that allows you to offer the same and even better products, but at a slightly improved margin, all else being equal. The second is finding those areas of cost that drive costs for the business but do not benefit the customer. An example might be something like marketing, for instance, where a lot of brands sometimes overspend. Another example would be, what's a more efficient way to work through our shipping costs, where I don't think anyone thinks about what it costs to get a product from point A to point B. But if
right.
you're able to reduce that cost by 20% and the product arrives safely at the customer's home or business, you're good to go. And those are those little things where we really said we're going to put on ourselves first instead of saying, oh, prices are up or costs are up, we're going to put this on our customers. We said costs are up, we're going to put it on our own shoulders, and we're going to find ways to operate more efficiently. And it's going to be harder for us. It's going to be way harder, but it's the right thing to do. And then secondly is if we can do so successfully, then we're actually building a better, more sustainable business over a longer period of time. And it has been the hardest thing we've done over the last probably 5 years, but it's also been, I think, the right long-term call because it positions our brand for a generational type growth that we would maybe not be able to get otherwise.
Yeah, no, I love that. I think quality is something that's always been paramount to success, and we take the same approach. Obviously, all of our products are going to patients and clinicians that are going through difficult times and might be having extremely hard days. And I feel the exact same way. You can never cheapen out on the quality of the product that you're giving. It's funny, we just did our annual review, and our team was talking about how we were able to reduce shipping costs similar way of 20 to 30% while everyone else is starting to pay more. So I love that. So you talked about marketing, and I always chuckle at this because your brand has built an incredible social following. You have over 1 million Instagram followers, While you personally probably have like three followers. I am one of the three though. But what's been key for your team to build such an amazing community?
Yeah, I can't take much credit for it. You're absolutely right, first of all. And this is also another important part of our brand and business is we don't view this as like the co-founder show. It really is a team effort. And
Yeah,
we would not be here without the many men and women who really drive that performance and work really, really hard to get there. I think with regards to marketing, the short version here is I think that you need to be authentic to like who you actually are and what your brand stands for.
totally.
Sometimes that means that you are trying to showcase like the breadth of the brand. We make boots that are really versatile and products that are very versatile, and so sometimes that means that we're actually showcasing them in areas that you may not expect. For instance, we do not make hiking boots today, other than for like a fashion purpose, but our boots are durable and tough enough that they actually can be used in a mountain setting. And so
Right.
we love to showcase like the beautiful mountain vista against, the city streets of New York. And that really kind of encapsulates the breadth and the versatility of what we're doing. So we try to make sure that the fundamental product quality and use cases, either more practically or more kind of like more broadly, are really seen in the photography and the videography. And we make sure that also that the content that we do produce, that it really resonates with what we're trying to do, and that it's a way that feels authentic to who that creator is. So I think another thing that brands will do is they'll possibly find things that are like kind of clickbaity. I remember a to be unnamed brand that used to post a lot of photos of cheeseburgers, and I love cheeseburgers as much as the next person,
Yeah.
but it didn't have anything to do with footwear, and so it's a good way to build like an account, but it doesn't necessarily resonate over the long run. I think the last thing is that we've also really tried to be very organic in the way that we engage people, and so it's and especially in the early days when we don't have any awareness, and it's really kind of like you get a snowball rolling downhill. You try to build it this
Right.
massive boulder, and initially it was really just like people that were excited about us, like we got excited about them. And I think there's still this like it's kind of anathema to these like hyper scaling conversations or folks that think that all you need is this one weird trick or raise $10 million and then boom your business explodes. It's really hand to hand combat, and the fun part about that is that you're engaged with your customers on their level. You're doing so consistently and you're learning the entire way and building really genuine relationships. And as we've grown the business, we've really tried to continue to scale that process. Whereas I can't be speaking directly to every single customer that walks into one of our stores today, but I want to make sure that everyone in my team is enabled to have the same level of authority that I do so that they can make sure that every customer has a great experience, whether we've just, making sure they have a warm welcome or making sure that if something went wrong, we're able to correct it quickly and take care of that person. So it's just a measure of I think social media is wonderful and that it also allows small brands like ours to kind of get their footing and start to showcase what they have to the world. But I also want to be clear. It is not the same as business success. It's not the same as
Yeah.
customer success. And the last thing I'll say is that we never really equated that we'll call like the social profile. We never tried to make that like work in lieu of what we really cared about, which is customer satisfaction and building a sustainable business. So it's a nice like cherry on top, but it is not the core business. And I think everyone needs to make sure that they always remember the difference.
No, I love that. And I think what you said at the beginning is so key and something that so many people don't realize, and that is just how important authenticity is. And I know, I mean, I've mentioned to you numerous times about how I love your Instagram account, not yours personally, but the company's Instagram account, and just how
I agree.
authentic it is to the brand. And I think that's something similar, how we've been starting to approach it too, is featuring real stories, real people, I think is so important. So you just talked a little about the retail side, and I think this is really interesting. Is obviously you started as a digital first brand. Now you're growing the retail side of your business. I was actually talking to one of our mutual friends, a banker, who was talking about how excited she was to walk by your store in New Jersey. And I think you now have four stores in New Jersey. And I think what's been pretty incredible is just the in-store experience that you and the team have built and how you've been able to kind of replicate that for your customers to their online experience. So how do you, I guess, how do you build that experience and how do you ensure that customers love you in store as much as they do, if not more, than they do online?
Yeah, so small correction. We have four stores total, two in New York City, one in Soho, one in
Sorry.
Flatiron,
Yeah.
where I am,
This is
one
why you
in
should never listen to a banker.
That's right. One in Chicago in Wicker Park, and then in Garden State Plaza, which is in Paramus, New
Yep.
Jersey.
Yep.
We went from one to four stores in 2024. So this is still very much like a live experiment, and I'm very excited and thrilled to be able to lead it from our end. With retail, it's interesting because we've gotten really good. We've done the hard thing first, which is just like we did with product, just like we did with cost cutting, just like we did with online. In many ways, it's harder to grow a business and scale it online than it's ever been. And so
Yeah.
we're actually in some ways kind of going, we're doing things backwards. And now we're finally doing stores. And the way we're approaching it's the same as we approached when we first started the business, which is with a very hefty dose of humility and really kind of
Mhm.
taking things from first principles. So when we do this, like the key of any store is like, what's the purpose and why do we do it in the first place? Number one, it's really just an opportunity to like create human connections with other people. And I think
Yeah.
that's something it's very difficult for smart, busy people. They want to break things into metrics and details. And that's not why we do retail. We do retail because we think it's a good opportunity from a business case. Don't get me wrong. We think it's going to enhance the overall brand and customer experience, and it's really going to show you who we are. But a lot of it is actually the fact that we get to connect with humans day to day, and it's people to
Right.
people, and that is like the joy and the emotion and the passion. And there's something fun about being on a showroom floor and witnessing people touch product and ask questions about fit and about leathers and about, why don't you guys offer this product? And you're like, that's a good idea. I like that.
Yeah.
We'll do that next. So that's kind of what we're really looking is using this as like an opportunity for discovery and in the meantime, really building a world-class team of retail professionals. It's a very different skill set relative to what we already have. And I think it very much is like a human team game where we're looking for like people. We want folks that are excited and energized and excited to be around others. And my hope is that over the next few years, we see a huge opportunity for us to expand the business. We're going to be very selective about how we do it. We're going to make sure that any stores that we operate are going to be sustainable, meaning that we're doing this so that anyone who works there can have a great career with us, and that the customers who shop there can hopefully be there for years and years to come.
Yeah.
And what we're also enjoying about it is it really kind of creates this opportunity to create small micro communities. We talk to our customers online all the time. It can be a little bit anonymous or it can be a little bit distant sometimes. And
Yeah.
by doing it in the flesh, you start to really kind of build a community around that store. So still early days, but I'm really excited and I plan to open more stores this year too.
I love that. So if you are a people person and retail expert, you should reach out to Connor because he is looking for great people.
And tell me what I need to do because we're still learning it and we're learning a lot right now, which is exciting.
The great thing about Connor is he will always listen to you, and he always assumes that you're smarter than him, even though most of the time that's not true. So you can have
Exactly.
real say. So talking about giving advice and receiving advice, do you like that transition, by the way? I thought that
I
was
like
pretty
that.
good.
I like that very much.
Um, so I'm sure you've received all sorts of advice, some great, some not so great, although you might not admit that it was not so great. What's the best advice that you've been told, and then what's the worst?
I think the worst advice is easy, and this person will stay anonymous. They said, "I don't like the name Thursday. I don't get it,"
Hmm.
and we always like Thursday because it's
Clearly, they
beneficial.
never went to business school because in business school, Thursday was the best day of the week.
It's funny is that whether you've gone to business school or not, whatever you've done, one thing I love about it is like Thursday is the unofficial start of the week, and it's that transitional day. And if you explain that to anyone, I don't care if your Thursday night involves going out all night with your friends and waking up when the sun rises. I don't care if it's you go home and watch a movie with your boyfriend or girlfriend. It's like Thursdays like where people start to get ready, and there's something nice about that.
Yeah.
We really like the product design. It's really hard to encapsulate because we do these evergreen, very classic, very minimalist products for the most part. And so what we love about it is that these are not just durable, comfortable, high quality, but it's also that they're very versatile. And so that versatility is kind of built into Thursday. And anyway, we had someone we still love and still respect, but he said, I don't like the name. So that'll happen all the time. The best piece
Yeah.
of the best piece of advice I got though was a little bit counterintuitive, and I wish I had taken sooner. We were so afraid of failing up front because the risks here are so high, and it's the most
Yeah.
probable outcome is that you're going no matter your best efforts and how hard you want it, you are going to fail. And that's like I tell that to every founder, every entrepreneur is don't do it. And I've gotten some advice like that from another friend I respect, which he said, don't do it. I heard that
Yeah.
as you can't do it, which made me even more fired up to get it done.
To
And
go do it
then
and prove them wrong. Yeah, love
and
that.
he knew that it fired me up, which is probably why he said it. It's also good advice because if that's enough to dissuade someone from starting a business, then it is the
Then
right
you
thing.
actually shouldn't do it. Yeah, agreed.
And then a corollary though to that is also someone told me and said you need to plan for success. You are so
Yeah.
busy planning for failure that you have not planned for success. And at least in our case, wow, that was totally on the nose. And the reason I say it is because you need to be thinking more ambitiously. You need to be thinking for scale. If I'm only thinking about just keeping the business going for the next 6 months or 12 months, I'm going to make very different decisions. If I'm thinking about this as we want to be around for 10 more years, for 20 more years, I want this to be around for 100 years.
Yeah.
That makes you prioritize things that might be difficult in the short term, but are going to serve your customers and your team better over the long run. And I think planning for success is something that people don't often do, especially in the early stages.
That's it's really true. I think the best advice I ever got was never take no for an answer. So that's why after you said no for this, I just put a calendar invite on your calendar and made you do this.
I just know you've got a better Rolodex, and I figured at some point you'd need to scrape the bottom of that barrel, and then I would be invited on. I just didn't think it would be this soon.
This soon, yeah, sometimes you just gotta scrape. I guess a couple of quick fire questions. What are you reading right now?
I read like 6 books at once, but I just started
Ooh,
reading a book called "Why Don't We Have Flying Cars," which is an analysis of basically why some of the technological utopianism of the 1960s has not come to pass, and it's alternately like it reads like a very long essay, or but it's also got a lot of really interesting analysis, which I really love. So it's a great factor of an argument on really the limitations of flying cars, but also some of the ways in which our society is changing over time and why that might throttle what could otherwise be interesting innovation. I'm not done yet, but I really enjoy it.
yeah, no. If you didn't think he was a nerd before, now you definitely will.
I'm reading that. I'm reading also a history of the ancient Greek civilization. So it's all bad
Oh,
news.
love that. Yeah. I
Yeah.
actually am trying to go to Greece this summer just so I can see that firsthand. Second question, favorite vacation destination?
I have not been on a vacation in a really long time, but I used to live in Santa Fe, New Mexico for 7 years, and I would
Yeah.
highly recommend that as just a wonderful weekend to spend. You can do hiking, outdoorsy stuff. You can see a lot of art. It's just really pretty. And if I had a free weekend, I think that's where I'd go first.
Interesting. If you had to pick, what is the Thursday shoe that you are most likely to be found in?
I mean, I tend to wear like one or two pairs and just take terrible care of them. And so
Yeah.
the captain is my go-to because it's probably the easiest to dress up and dress down.
Yeah.
And I wear my brown captain and my dark olive suede because the two of them like kind of go with almost anything. And actually, perversely, the more you beat them up, the better they look.
You get Connor to say yes to dinner or drinks, uh, especially at a founder's dinner or drinks, because you're notorious for saying no.
I think it's important to say no so you can focus on the most important things that you need to do. And as you know very well, there's a lot of obligations that you have to your team, to your customers, and to others. And so I've gotten good about sometimes saying no to things I want to say yes to. But the other way to do it is I'm very happy to meet up for dinner or drinks after 9 o'clock.
Yeah, that's very true. Or on a weekend. He's normally more amenable on weekends. Perfect. Well, Connor, this has been really great. I had another question, but honestly, I forgot what it was. But it was going to be game changing, so our listeners will have to wait for the next time we get you on here.
Maybe we'll do
Uh,
version two, but after only again if you've really scraped the bottom of the barrel again.
yeah, perfect. Love that. We can do where has he been? Where is he now? Kind of like Shark Tank does that like a year later or whatever. I don't know if they still do that, but I assume they do.
It'll be like the rise and fall. I look forward to the second act.
Yeah, I'm sure it's only going to be the rise in your case. But thanks so much for doing this. We're excited for your story to get shared to the other 5 people that follow me. And thanks as always, man.
From 5 to 10, and obviously
Exactly.
I also have to say I'm a big fan of what you guys are doing as well too. And I think there's just a lot of from one product founder to another one, respect for fighting the good fight, but also more importantly, for fighting the good fight on behalf of people who are actually like doing good work in the world. So
Thank you. And for anyone that doesn't know Connor, all bad jokes aside, he's one of the few people that if you email him anytime and say, I need your help, he will call you within 30 seconds, regardless of whether you're expecting him to call you within 30 seconds. And I think that's what makes him such an incredible human being is he is normally pulling an all-nighter, but he still makes time to help others around him, regardless of what he thinks of you. So I think it's a reason that Thursday has been so successful, and it's a reason that I'm really excited to call him a friend, even if he lives in Brooklyn and I have to commute to get to him.
sorry about that one. Can't help you.
Yeah, yeah. But thanks, dude. All right, I can.